Is it 5:30? Wednesday, April 9th, 2025, 5:30 PM. We'll call the Public Works Committee meeting to order. Stand and salute, pledge. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This item on the agenda is March 12th, 2025, Public Works. I should say, all present.
Caleb Garn.
Caleb Garn, Donnie Kern.
Brent Crone.
And next item on the agenda is the March 12th, 2025, Public Works minutes. What's the committee's pleasure?
Caleb Garn, make a motion to adopt the minutes as submitted.
Brent Crone, second.
Motion made, seconded to adopt the minutes as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is public comment on agenda items, 2 minutes per topic, 2 minutes per person, 14 minutes per topic. Anybody wish to give any comment online in the, no? Okay. Next item on the agenda is project updates, general item, update on active projects.
Yes, thank you, Donnie. So the lift station 5 project, the DOT went out there and with some different equipment to help locate. They believe they have a hit on where it's located, and it's a matter of getting Haas out there and hopefully finding it. You'll see, because it's quite a bit further off than what the as-built shows, but that's what we got to go off, and that's currently what it is. And it's holding up some shop drawing approvals until we have some, affirmative, until we can find that darn thing. It's kind of holding some things up, but it's gonna delay the final completion date, so that's just kind of our concern now, is finding that so we can keep things moving in a timely
How much
fashion.
delay are we looking at for that? Because aren't we under some timelines to have those connections made by a certain time? And
Yeah, it's operational, but it's, the way the project was set up was, to have it completed by August 31st, but,
right.
That may not happen, but as long as to me anyways, if it's operational, it's,
Shouldn't be any issues on our end then, yeah.
No, but it just, delays cost money all around, you know what I mean, so. Yeah, a little bit later on the agenda, we'll walk through that task order. I've got some, I'll share some information that provide a little more clarity on that. I'll share it on the screen. Dan Excavating has, in the Ladder 45 development, has installed the water, sanitary sewer, and storm sewer. It looks like it'll be more towards the end of April before they get to Parent Street and 180th there. So that they've I think they went out to Appleton for a project or something. So it'll be probably very end of April or first part of May before they return. And that's gonna, there's gonna be some disruptions, and there's gonna be some traffic control and some road closures, as they cross the road there. So more to come on that. Pinevale First Edition, they had a pre-con today. And they plan on starting that. Tell me.
21st.
The 21st, and they want to get that done by the 1st of June. So that's kind of the timeline. So it's called the First Edition, but it's, the second phase. So you have the subdivision and you have the first edition. I don't know if anybody's been up to Winesap.
I've seen the work there.
They've come a long ways. They're out there working. When I was there today, putting topsoil down on the far west side there. So it's starting to shape up nice.
Anything being done before that though? I didn't get I seen it from the highway, but anything being done on that first intersection?
Oh yeah, they've done a lot of cleanup. Yeah.
They moved all them dirt piles out of there yet? Okay.
On the east side, yeah.
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 By that first set of houses.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, that's what I remember.
I know they're working on it. I've had some other people.
And they got rid of the fire truck, which surprised me. I thought that was gonna I didn't know if that was bolted down or what, so that was good to see.
Kids are sad.
Do we know what's going on with the signs? Are they still in back order or?
Yeah, as far as I know. There's gonna be a layer under the. We're going through if it's that big of a delay.
I mean, I'm able to get like disc golf signs within like 3 days.
Right?
Want me to try and order some?
I'll talk to
So, guess that's the highlight. Albrightson, when they're gonna get into River Hills,
I haven't talked to
You know,
him about that yet.
anticipate May for that.
There's a lot of fences up there now.
You know.
A lot of people have put fences up now. A couple people are moving out too, I think on that. That area too, on that row. That make you mean you have to get new agreements or? Oh, boy.
Any questions on project updates or anything like that?
No.
Hearing none?
For the
Next
update.
item on is lift station utility extension task order 1.
Okay, so I will share my screen.
I guess before you get too deep into this, my first question is gonna be how much is this getting like forwarded to the DOT, or are they eating some of this, or?
This
Are
has,
we gonna, do we have to eat all this because of the pipes?
this has nothing to do with the case.
Okay, all right, perfect.
Okay, so if you put your attention up on the big screen here, so, you know, the way this project worked out, it's a little convoluted and I apologize for that. When I originally presented this task order, not providing a little more detail. And so just to kind of walk you through the history here, this first column is the original TID 5 project, okay? And what we did there is
It's just the engineering costs we're looking at, or?
just the engineering costs, thank you. Okay, so, you know, the original TID project was the design and lift station, and then here's the construction portion of that project. And at the time, we weren't 100% sure the Lat 45 project was going, not going, but to meet the obligations for the property to the south there, the Floyd property, you had to get going on it. And we had to get this going prematurely to make that August 31st deadline work, right? And so the design, you know, is essentially the lift station kind of inside the fence, right? Everything in and around the lift station, the driveway, you know, and then the force main up, so to speak. So that's what that construction contained, okay? Then once we knew that Lat 45 was moving forward, you know, the regional ponding needed to be designed. And so that's where this second project came involved, right? And so if I show you the original plan was to have kind of the ponds contained in this area here. And, you know, and so that's essentially what that design was for the 22.5. Then, as far as the development agreement, there was $15,000 as far as construction administration put into that contract. And so that was that task order. But, you know, in addition, what's not covered and what's covered in this task order that I presented, this 77,300 last month, is the construction administration or the construction observation related to all the municipal utilities not related to the lift station. So that's all the public water system, the sanitary sewer, and all the public streets, the storm sewer, the curb and gutter, all that public streets that you need somebody to watch, right? And so that's what I included. And then also, what I also and put in there for your consideration is a storm pond futures. And if I go back to the drawing here, because of the amount of impervious and everything else, these two ponds, this infiltration and then the pond and the infiltration basin down here, it wasn't sufficient to handle that development. Okay, so you either had to encroach more into the future growing wings land, or you had to go,
We can't encroach into that. land,
No,
because that's
so-
already been spoken for.
nope, and so what we had to do is do additional storm sewer on the other side of the lift station over here.
And that wasn't originally thought of when the first.
No, we thought we could all handle
was
it
gonna
here.
be taken care of?
And since it had to spill on the other side of the lift station, the thought was, well, we better design it so it can handle the ultimate flows of everything. The businesses on what will be on the east side of that road, okay? And I know that wasn't part of the original scope. It's work that's going to need to be done when that,
Isn't that gonna take a couple of those lots out of there, potential lots?
The ponds,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna lose those commercial,
no, it's just,
it's on the bottom where, there's not a great building.
right there, but I'm talking about would be to the east of there, right there where you're at, right?
most of this isn't, well, we've cut into that area considerably, but there's plenty of room up here.
So this is the bill for just overseeing it, where's the actual bill for doing the work?
Well, so this pond is
Yep, we got it,
the design, right?
yep,
Actually doing
Get the
that,
quote.
will be in the future when,
so
When
how
that-
much more is not, so get it, everything has to change based on the plan had to change because the ponds weren't quite right.
yeah, we had to figure out, because with that road coming down to the lift station.
Yep.
You had, and the extra water, you got not only the extra water, we could have just done a teeny little pond and some teeny little pipes
Yep,
to handle just that. And then force those businesses to do their own ponding,
yep,
which would have eaten up more land.
yeah,
And so by doing, just, hear me out, humor me, I guess, by doing more of that design now, so it's all encompassing, we can minimize the amount of land that we have to reserve for stormwater. And so, so that not gonna be dug as part of this, what we would do is we would push that presumably, Bob can weigh in on this, but presumably as part of the grading, whoever buys that lot will have to do that grading. The pipes will all be there, but the actual building of that pond would fall under that future.
right, so my concern comes from the point of, we budgeted so much for this TID for the plan, now we're changing the plan to this is just the initial step of changing the plan and supervising the plan being changed. How much does the associated, all of this associated work is gonna be covered by future landowners? Like, don't we have to pay that to have it done first before the landowners would? How much are those associated costs with the actual work of this gonna be? Cause the budget's gonna change, right, we're.
Well, that's,
looking at the
you might not give any incentives, or you might decide to give some incentives. Like all
Depends on
you-
the deal.
This ends on,
So this is just preparing it,
This-
yeah, so they know they don't have to cover it. And the pipes, and we don't have to redo that lift station driveway because the pipes were sized too small.
So we need to ask more for the land.
we just gotta cover it somewhere else, or we gotta recover these costs somewhere else. Got it.
And
Thanks.
I know this, all this stuff kind of come together quickly because they had it out for bids before we actually had it designed.
Sure.
And, so,
What do you charge us for engineering per hour?
That's on the back of this.
it varies by people, yeah.
My question is, that storm future pond. You need to engineer that now and get paid for that now and get that all designed
We had,
now?
we had to do that, so lat 45.
You had to do it or you gotta do it? Yeah, still. My
No, we
question
had to
is,
do it, we had to do it,
so you're trying to recoup that cost that
We
you
are.
already,
we are.
okay. So
And
the
if that's gonna
15
be a heartburn for you, we can, since we've done it already and that's real costs. We'd like to get reimbursed for it, but if that's gonna cause some heartburn, we can delay that until that, I can delay.
Spread it out.
I can delay that until that other stuff moves forward, and then if that would help you or would make more sense, but
Well, I just wanna make sure this is the last time we'll be talking about additional engineering fees for.
That design of that
For this,
pond.
for this area.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you're saying, okay, it's gonna be 77,000 and we're done, you
Well,
know,
they're
I
gonna
mean.
be involved with any deal we put together with any new landowner.
Right, but if we put it together with the landowner, it'd be no different than what we do right now, it's pushed off onto the landowners, any engineering costs would be covered by the landowner.
Part of the
future
deal.
landowner.
Part of the deal.
Right, as a developer's agreement.
Part of the deal, well,
If we write the deal that way.
if you write the deal at, you
So
know,
we're
you
either
might,
looking to pay for it now and charge more for the land or encompass it later on when you know, get the developer in for the land.
And maybe by spreading it out, we could have a potential buyer in that time between, or someone lined up that could pay us some of that money, so we don't have to pay it all out right up front. What are you thinking about for spacing, as far as spreading this 77 out?
How
well,
many lots
He's
are-
talking to 15,000.
I'm talking the 15th portion of it,
Okay,
cause the 65 is like, you know, real work that needs to be overseen, cause
Back to that.
they're constructing it.
It's like,
But, you know, that design of the future pond, you know, I can delay getting paid for that, but, you know, if we're gonna have people, somebody's gotta stand over that, you know, the trench and watch the roads be built and everything else. So, I mean, I'd like to get I seek authorization for the 77, but if, you know, if you'd like, or if it makes more sense to you for me to wait for that eastern land to develop and then incorporate those pond costs, then I can live with it. That makes sense.
I understand what you're saying, and I would rather, in my opinion, I'd rather that be the case. Because that would help us to design and develop and look at, maybe we can roll that cost into the design of the lots that we have once we get to that point, and we cover the. Cause you gotta get the roads in first and get that engineered, and then we can figure out what the, you know, cost of design and is of the lots once we get the roads in, because the road, you know, would have a better chance of selling them once we.
Well, Bob's saying we got roughly 18 acres, and if you look at your average McDonald's Culvers, whatever, they're 1.5 to 2. So we're looking at 7 to 9 potential sales.
Right.
That's pretty easy to spread out the 77 grand over.
McDonald's out of,
But I'd like to hold on that payment till we get, at least we start,
Truck stop.
Yeah.
but I'd like to hold on at least 16,000 till we at least start making those sales.
I agree.
You know, and then we can spread that out. I don't disagree with what you're saying. I just like to pause on that and we get the roads built in and maybe we sell one of those lots and we start cash flowing them and are able to recoup those costs.
I'd like to take just a minute to talk about how we got in this position. In which I don't fully think, when we talked with we talked about Capital Investment Group and their incentive and things. So when our initial conversation started, our cost to do the development, what CapVest is doing, our bill on that was estimated at almost $5.3 million. They said, what happens if we bid this out and we can do it cheaper? And I said, we go right ahead. And they came back with 3.9. And the difference there, and the reason they're able to do it cheaper is they don't have prevailing wage that they have to fall underneath. So we have to pay, what's next week, get $150 an hour?
Yeah, I don't know.
But they can pay whatever the going rate, $27 an hour. So that was how we got into that. It's like, well, the village is gonna save quite a bit of money. And so that's why you're seeing some, very little, because very little of this utility, they have a private, 8-inch line going to serve their multifamily. All the rest of it's ours. So
Yes.
they're essentially doing, that little private road right there is really all that CapVest has got.
Private road.
The rest of it, all that Parent Street, all that other stuff is all improving everything for us to get going with all of that.
they're setting us up for success there.
Yeah, well, and that's how we got to that, I'm like, okay, well, this is a no-brainer. And in respect, they want to be paid back and, you know, that's where we got to that, so. If that helps. So that's why we have so many different areas here. We got a lift station going on, we have private utilities going on, we got public utilities going on, we got storm bonding going on, and I forgot one.
You know, and we could have done all the ponding here. But then when it was decided that we needed to reserve some land for a road to go through here. That pushed us into that future pond because there just wasn't enough space available.
But
And so to keep things, you know, to do our part. You know, we didn't wanna, cause they had already had it out to bids before we even had a chance to design this. To do our part, we said, well, we wanna do right by the village, so we gotta look at this thing holistically. We've gotta do. We either gotta do just the bare minimum and then have Somerset do a bunch of rework. Or we just do it right the first time and then, you know, ask to get reimbursed for that additional work at some point.
I'm not opposed at that, it's just, you know, the water and sewer runs that are coming in are gonna come out of our enterprise funds, right? The water and sewer lines,
Mhm.
and so the rest of this that we're talking about is all storm drains and storm water is gonna come out of the TID funds directly, right? Not the water and sewer. So that, having to know that, because we already took out and financed a lion's share of this road, we could have put the extra 77,000 on top of that and borrowed for it as well in the bonding bill that we already authorized. But we didn't know that going into it. That's what I'm saying, is that we would have known, okay, guys, we're gonna have this another 75,000 in engineering costs. We could have said, okay, well, let's bond for it, and we'd be able to cover that.
And we haven't done the issue on this yet,
Well, we've been talking about it.
that was for Pineville.
Right, but we've been talking, we did,
Yeah,
we've been talking about this, we got $1 million possible for the lift station and everything, it's just we haven't borrowed for it yet.
correct.
They put it up here, and that's what I'm saying is, are we gonna be looking to borrow?
We can add that in.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yep.
All right, so that's,
Yeah,
We
we got
should do
time.
that.
I thought that was, we were already cut and dried shopping for the money and didn't have that, because it was like 1.1 mil, I thought it was.
That's what they want for basically us to pay for our pipes, our hydrants
Right.
and our portion of it. They're like, well, we're not gonna pay for that, you just give us the money back for that. So that's essentially what that payment.
So are we gonna be able to roll this 77 in, or are we gonna roll the
Yeah.
50,000 in and pause on the rest and pay for it?
It makes all those lots essentially more saleable, more shovel ready. It's, I mean, any.
We don't have to redesign the.
I'm gonna be happy that we did this.
They don't have to redesign the ponds, they're already there for them.
So if we're putting, this on the bond, does it really matter staggering it then?
It does, because it affords us some time.
Okay.
And that's kind of how their breakout is. It's after every $12 million they get an incentive, but we want to get that money ahead of paying them, so we keep
Got it.
our balance going up. And then
Still helps.
we release, so we're out with them, where they're not getting paid back for potentially 10 years. So it's as fast as they go and get their valuation to hit those benchmark dates.
So it's advantageous then to delay the 16K is what you're saying?
Yes,
So that's,
yes.
and
So are
I'm
you
okay
okay,
with
you're okay with that?
I'm okay with that. Again, it's,
So if we
should have
take,
had this conversation further or sooner.
agreed,
I put that on me.
but so if we, can you pop back on one?
You know, I was
Slide.
hoping we could just absorb it into the rest of it. We just couldn't, you know, it was just too much of a significant expense.
Brandon Corona, make a motion to approve TID 5 lift station utility extension task order, number 1, in the full amount of 77,300 with a delayed payment for the total of 15,317 and 50 cents, which will be determined by Chuck.
Second.
Or the date will be given to us by Chuck. No later date.
I was gonna say, motion made and seconded. Chuck, do you, and under discussion, what are we looking at for that, when you're talking about getting that delayed? Yet this year, I assume.
I'll work with you. okay, you know. Hopefully this spurs development, you know, and so whatever works for you guys, you know, I guess if,
Be really nice if we get the first lot sold, then you can get.
yeah, that's what I'd like to
You know what
kind
I
of
mean?
absorb it in then.
Right?
But if it ends up being 10 years, you know, I might come back to 5 and say, with a hat in hand here, you know?
Fair enough on that, you know, but
If time gets tight, you know.
So,
You
I'll
want-
amend my motion to say that, the 15,317.50 will be recouped at time of sale of the first lot.
I'll amend the second.
It's gonna go quick.
No, thank you for that.
all right, motion made, motion amended and seconded to amend the motion delaying 15,317.50 until the sale of the first lot. The balance is reimbursed, on approved task order as approved. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye. All opposed, nay, and that'll go to the full board then.
Thank you very much for that.
Consent agenda or
consent.
consent agenda?
Yeah,
There's
Might as well try it.
consent agenda, yeah, shouldn't be a problem.
I might take off unless you want me to stick around for anything.
No, if you gotta go, Chuck, get out of here, go be, spend some time.
Yeah, I
with
didn't know if you wanted me to weigh in on that plow truck, so.
I think we're good, Chuck.
Go and get, thank you, Chuck, we appreciate you being flexible on,
No,
those payment terms.
Next item under new business, mill and overlay quotes.
So request of the council, committee, I did contact Monarch to do some measurements and provide estimates on the streets that were identified by the committee. They're listed here. Main Street, Parnell and Jermaine, Evergreen Drive, Shockner Street, LaGranger Road. So the mill and overlay consists of taking 1.5 inches of pavement, milling it, and then new 1.5 inch hot mix asphalt on top. So these quotes, so anything over $25,000, we're gonna be pushed into that's one.
That's one bid, yeah.
So I have to publish it to satisfy the Wisconsin laws. So, but this give you a general idea of what those costs would be. Main Street, I did put in my update, and I apologize, I got that out super late today. I think that we have a better candidate for Main Street that's be significantly cheaper, and it basically looks like a brand new road,
That's the microservicing.
microsurfacing, yeah.
You think that might be something, cost savings wise? Cause, there's a significant cost on Main Street right now of what you got for mill and overlay. How much of a cost savings you might see
I
on
don't
something like
know,
that?
but
Is it, I was looking and I don't know if the committee would be willing to look at as well, but I also see the same thing on LaGranger. Is that something that maybe it might be worthy of us looking at for LaGranger, or do we have settling issues and stuff there?
no, not too bad. We have one by the bus company that wasn't compacted very well. And I can even see if they can fill that, because they can fill ruts with the emulsification.
Yeah, that's really the only,
They, you know, that little
pretty
dip,
rough, but
yeah,
that's the worst spot.
maybe that's what it takes to wake people up when they're going to SMC.
Hey,
I come from the other way.
So as long as you have a, you know, fairly uniform crown, right, you should be, you're good.
so is that something that we might wanna
Do you know what that?
carve, if the committee is okay with it?
Anything like that?
You know, last time I did a Sawyer Steel project was Hudson, that was a while ago, so I can get you prices.
Gone up
I can call
237%
that, I can call
since then.
I can call the company and just see if they'll throw it up.
Yeah, they'll give you a budgetary number, yeah, and if you need our help. we'll-
He was just in, so the rep from the company,
Is that Scott? I can't
No.
remember.
it's not.
How bad,
It's,
how bad do you
Place
think
out on the forest.
LaGranger's gonna get beat up while, they're finishing Pineville?
How bad?
Yeah,
Not bad.
not bad.
It's built for industrial use, so it's pretty beefy.
Well, it held up to last year, or 2 years ago, when everybody drove down there,
Yeah,
you know, but, do you think that maybe with the cost and the price that we're looking at for mill and overlay, that it might benefit us, will we gain some more longevity on Main and LaGranger if we were to do it like a chip seal type?
Main Street definitely, LaGranger. The Granger isn't really a showcase street, so you don't get complaints on industrial roads.
Right.
I mean, you would drive through Hudson and talk about some bad roads.
Yeah.
It's in their industrial park, and why is the road so bad? I'm like, well, residents don't live down these roads.
Right.
And those are the ones I would suggest taking a look at, because they're the ones that are going there daily, and, you know, that's where our complaint basis, you know, that, hey, there's a problem. It doesn't generate out of their industrial park, and that's.
But it won't create a lot, you know, make the road last by chip sealing it off?
It will, yep.
Is that something we might be able to buy time on LaGranger if we were to do something like that, or do you think it'd be cost prohibitive at this
Yeah,
time?
it's been seal coated once.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
It's gonna get a lot more residential traffic from
It
Pineville.
is, yeah, so it's a good candidate,
We could at least get the numbers and see, I
right?
mean, if you got, I mean, that's,
yeah, I don't think it needs to be, this number is, yeah, hard, that's 104, that's gonna be tough to swallow.
but chip sealing would be a fraction of that.
And that's curb,
Yeah.
that is curb to curb. Just for your reference.
So, yeah, I just wanna make sure that it holds up, cause it's gotten,
Do we get to pick the color?
Black.
how, so and that road's gonna be used when the industrial comes into eventually for new.
Some, yeah.
I would imagine a lot of it's gonna go that way.
So,
Yeah, it's the shortest route from the freeway.
So what's the committee's pleasure?
We're just waiting, aren't we?
Well, we got to send out for bid on a class 1 notice, and the question is, do we send out for bid for, you know, 1.5 inch, mill and overlay, or we send out for, we scratch them too and just send out for bid on Parnell, Evergreen and Shockner and get a chip seal bids on the other two. But I think that's what I'm looking at.
that's what I have in my notes.
I like that,
So,
that's the pleasure,
I'll make a motion that we submit for bids on Parnell, Germain, Evergreen, and Shockner. And for the 1.5 inch mill and overlay. And bring it back for committee to review. How long do we need to have that notice out for?
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
10 days, I think.
So we will have it by next month?
As Soon as I can get her in the paper.
Okay. So then bids for next month for the committee to review, and we'll send out for Maine and LaGranger to do chip seal.
Frank Crown second.
Okay, motion made and seconded for bids on Parnell, Germain, Evergreen and Shockner, and chip seal on LaGranger and Maine. Hopefully by next month for the committee to review. Okay. Motion made, seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Have a good
Have a
one,
good
Chuck.
night. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is plow truck chassis and uplifting quotes. Do you want me to do them separate or together?
Whatever,
Consent.
whatever you like.
Let's do them together. It's all on one page. anyways, so. You should have received a page of different quotes, and you have the individual information provided to you from several different Premier Truck and Nuss Truck and Equipment. Interesting information with this, we would be able to possibly get the truck this year. However, the uplifting of the plow truck will not happen until next year.
big truck,
Just
salt on the back.
traditional plow truck, single axle.
And we were thinking about 180,000, I think, in our original, so it went up quite a bit.
Time's money.
Yep.
So, Mike, our streets person, got these quotes together. I talked to him and he says, well, we really prefer the Mac. We've got a Mac, like, not working with Ness as the vendor. They would love a Western Star because that's the nicest small truck you can get, but they said we don't need something like that. Freightliner, we'd like to stay away from, but for comparison, we gave that to you. Those aren't typically designed for in urban plowing settings. They're long haul, like your freeways and things like that. I'm not even
It's
sure.
terrible.
Uh,
I own one, it's terrible.
Okay. So Matt came in the middle and Monroe, the uplifting costs obviously are the same. The trade, 10,000. I would recommend allowing us to put that on a sealed bid, advertising that and seeing what we get for quotes.
That's not gonna happen until next year when we get the new uplifting done, right?
Right, yeah, we'll probably do it mid-spring, like this time, knowing that we're probably out of snow.
Yep.
Hopefully, and then maybe just have that out of our hands by May, then we'll have some extra money to apply to the payment, so.
And we can lock in these numbers with that, the uplifting price, so we wouldn't have to see anything going up in that, right?
Correct.
And we won't have to pay it until next year, which means we could put that in for budgeting.
Correct.
In 2026's budget. So we got money set aside and outlay to cover some of this, plus we also talked about in previous budget cycles about, borrowing a little bit towards this plow truck. So, what's the committee's pleasure based on the recommendations of, the staff?
We're just recommending approval of this pricing, right?
Well, we got a Mack, Western and Freightliner.
For the Mac.
Yeah, correct. Well, you pull the trigger on that. Would we get the truck yet this year or?
Yeah, the truck wasn't a big delay. Yeah, the uplifting is.
Right,
a delay.
so. How long will they hold pricing for us? I guess what I'm saying, or we get the truck and we gotta pay for it, and it's gonna be sitting here for.
Yep, the truck we pay for, and then Ness will hold the truck, they'll. store it
Okay,
for us.
all right.
So it's not sitting outside somewhere getting, weathered. And then the uplifting would occur at that price. Regardless of tariffs, and I know they have a note in there about tariffs.
And then we get
$17,500.
$17,500
So they've already.
Pardon?
to us.
if they're trade-ins.
Trade-ins will be in 2026.
That's what we get the 17,500.
No, he says we don't do the trade-in with them. We put it out for sealed bid on the
Oh.
trade-in.
They don't really want the truck.
No, and it doesn't look like for what they're offering,
I know,
we're better
I
off going for a sealed
buy
bid
it.
on that.
Yeah,
So,
Anyway,
I mean, essentially what that tells you is
They don't want it.
sell the truck over.
Okay,
they're giving you a.
what do you think it will get?
For the truck.
I don't know.
No.
Because we're gonna put that on.
More
sealed-
than 10,000.
Okay,
We're
all
gonna
right.
put that on sealed bid, so
This
I
is
don't want
definitely-
someone going back to the
That's the
We
recording.
probably have a floor
That's the
and
floor.
say more than 10,000 as our reserve.
That's
bid,
the
so-
floor. Got it. All
I
right.
bet we get 16,322.
For all of it?
That was what he was.
Somewhere between 10,000 and 100,000. There, in that range.
That's a good.
It's guaranteed.
Okay, all right. Take that to the bank.
So what's the pleasure of the committee?
So we gotta approve the Mac at $110,655, right?
It'd be, the MAC would be 134,637.
Or am I not getting that number?
Where do you get that number?
I don't know, but I like your number better than what I got in front of me.
I think the Mac, I'm getting.
Where do you got that number?
This sheet,
All right.
Do you have any holes in beverages that you had to take care of?
for tariffs. So we want the,
So the Mac would be 134 and change, the uplifting 146 and change for a total of 281.
See this? That's where you're looking at. You had me confused. I had to find that number. It's right there. So 134,637 is what we're looking at, 96.
Well, we gotta approve the uplifting as well right now.
Correct, yeah. Because that way we can lock in our pricing, otherwise if we're subject to
So.
everything, including tariffs,
No, Terry,
We've signed it there.
they're locked in.
they've got the Ross deal.
we got everything you need.
You're not gonna be in.
I'd like to make a motion to approve purchase of 2025 Mac for 134,637.96, and the uplifting, signing the contract for uplifting for 146,784 to be paid in 2026.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the Mac purchase of 134,637.96, and to sign a contract of 146,784 for uplifting in 2026. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Public Works Department reports. I have one question on your
Yeah.
deal on here. With the water situation over here with the DNR.
Yeah.
Do we treat anything in our water at all?
Chlorine,
Just chlorine?
Yep.
No fluoride or anything, like, okay. And so what's the, do we get a bad test or something that
No.
comes through, or?
no, something with my reporting, and when I submitted in, I submitted late.
Okay,
So I was like, okay, well, I did the best I could, and it was like 10 days late, so here it is. And was it just before I left, we get a note from the DNR that said, well, you're in violation of blah, 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 and I'm like,
when it was sent to Tasia.
Tasia, yeah. And I went through the report and I'm like, well, so then I sent it off to, there's a engineering company that the DNR hired that will assist, so I'm like, well, okay. She called me today and was saying, I got your report, I need to really understand what the issue is, because you have everything and more than what you're even required to put in shoes. I just don't know if it's simply that it was 10 days late, and that's what's going on. So I'm
but
worried.
there's no bad testing or anything like that?
No
It's
bad
just-
testing. We
okay.
didn't find any lead. I mean, the only lead we ever found was down on Spring Street. There was a stray pipe back in 1994 that maybe was hooked up at one time, but was definitely sitting in the dirt for a long time. But yeah, a lot of our systems new, so in comparison to a lot of other places, but yeah, we have like 6 galvanized services or some plumbing that recommend to be replaced, but there's not a like critical, because
Sure,
some galvanized could have been manufactured with lead, but even this stuff is probably new enough or it wasn't, so, but anyway, I just wanted to make sure you all understood that we're working through that. And
so will the notices we sent out to everybody and, you know?
Yep.
And so that, I suppose that's gonna generate a lot of,
I mean, yeah, that's why I'm a little bit agitated, because I'm like, well, you know, first of all, we don't have a problem. We've never had a problem. All of our lead and copper results have come back super good.
sure,
And it's just a little
It's
aggravating.
not a bad test result, it's just.
Well, it's a blanket thing that EPA did since Flint, Michigan happened. They're like, okay, you know, we're gonna demand this, but now, like, Wisconsin statutes aren't even up to date. So if you go and look in the legislation's behind on this. So it's,
It sounds like a system error on their side.
you know.
Keep
and
working
that's just
through it,
you know,
keep
You
grinding.
get a bunch of people that get hysterical and.
Sure.
you know, But I think the biggest thing is.
There's no risk.
There was some error on the reporting and it still has yet to be determined. I looked at it, Jim looked at it, and I don't know.
I'm more worried about the risk to the public, and as long as there's no lead, I'm not really too worried.
Right.
You guys will figure out the paperwork.
Zero health risk at all. So.
Perfect.
So, one other question, actually two. We approved to get, the trimming around the parks replaced. I know for, you know, all I think we allocated, I want to say 19,000 towards getting all the pea gravel pulled out and, you know, removed and redone. And also the trim around, because it's all wood trim, and I think they wanted to replace that with, something that's, gonna handle a little bit better. I didn't know if that was, ordered, or if there's gonna be a process on getting that done. And then also, we also allocated some money for a swing set at Vets. And I think there was some discussion about that, but I don't know what ever happened out of
Let
that.
me check on
Okay,
it. Thank you.
yeah, no problem. And then we're gonna lose our, multi-use trail section on 190th.
Looks like it.
What does that mean? That the trail will end? It'll stop?
No,
Does it go to sidewalk then, or what?
no. It would be so piecemealed that I'm like, this is gonna be a complete insult of the village if we, so they said, well, you can come on, then you're gonna have to cross at Timberlane, and then you're gonna have to go up on the south side of 190th. Well, like, the whole reason there is to prevent people from that area, because that's Timberlane's right where the hill crosses. So I'm like,
Right.
that doesn't create any, that's.
So we're
that's
just
worse.
not going up 190th then? We're gonna stop.
Just
And
right
I
to
said, at this
connect it.
point, you know, I'm really not happy residents. And put it this way, everybody in town wants multi-use trails, they just don't want them in their property.
Never heard that story before.
So I got to the point where I'm like, you know, we can look at this forever and we're running out of time. We need to get this thing stamped by the DOT so we can start, otherwise we're gonna lose our funding. So there's such a small demographic, and I lived up on Reed Street, so I walked quite a bit around 190th, and it's not the greatest. But now that we're adding these trails, I feel then people are just gonna migrate down Reed Street, which is nice and wide. And we do have anticipated sidewalk going on Reed Street someday.
So will they still be able to, the biggest concern I have is there'll be a good walkway across from the neighborhoods, because that's, everyone's trying to get out of those neighborhoods to connect. And also they'll have a path on the, what would be the west side of 35, so they can get down to Main Street. So-
Yes, all the way from Whispering Pines.
Yeah, so they don't have to
Whispering
walk.
Pines North, all the way down.
They'll still have that, and there'll be a crossing at the old snap there, or whatever,
Yep.
laser.
Correct.
Car one.
So I think people will probably inevitably flow down to Reed Street then, yeah. Kind
How's
of
that
like you
gonna
say,
affect our granting, our funding, anything?
it'll be less, we'll need less
DOT,
money.
I meet with them weekly and they just said, yeah, if that's the best course, then we just need a letter from village stating that.
We're gonna,
we're
so
good
190th,
From the plat.
190th, we're not gonna do anything coming back to, coming back west from Granger, right?
But we'll still, so everyone from Pinevale will walk down there, still go up that path, and that'll all still connect into the trails up by River Hills and up to the disc golf course
So
and
around the Granger.
all the way, okay.
And then eventually we'll put something on Reed Street to connect up with, Laser to LaGranger, right?
And I suggest is probably then a sidewalk.
Well, try.
Do we gotta get, we do put the sidewalk right in the right away, or do we gotta get
Yep.
landowner permission?
No, we would put
So that's something that we just have to figure out. We can't incorporate that in this as a grant though.
No.
Okay.
Would that go on SMC's property there,
across the street.
across the street?
Will they allow a dog park in the grant?
Same thing as the paths, Caleb, everyone wants one, just not in their yard.
Any, yeah. Anything else to talk about on the reports? Public Works, Water, Sewer, and Parks bills. I think we're right, actually in line with where we should be.
Caleb Garn make a motion to accept the bills as presented.
Brandon Crowe, second.
Motion made, seconded. Are we accepting or are we presenting them for recommending for approval?
Recommending for approval.
Sounds a little better.
Second,
Consent
the
agenda.
Okay,
second, the amended motion.
motion made and seconded to recommend for approval of the bills as presented. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Carried. Next, future agenda items. Anything to be brought up in future agenda items? Caleb, it's been a pleasure sitting with you on this committee.
Been great.
And I'm hoping that we still will be able to see you at the park meetings, because that's still going in. The park is really starting to look good with it getting all cleaned up on there. I got kudos to the committee and the public works guys for doing that.
Yeah. Nice.
I'll be hanging out down there. No time.
Nothing, you got anything?
Well, I do. I have one, but I think I'll talk with Bob about, I can talk with Bob about it before I put it on the agenda.
Final motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. We are adjourned at 6:22. Yeah.
We'll say.